Welcome to On the Bauble podcast, episode 37. I'm your host, Boss J. Ueda, and with me is my co-host, Yuki Lee Bender. Today, we're going to be doing a draft review of a draft that I've done just before the Pro Tour with some of the guys from the Savage Lands, and we were going to basically analyze my picks and see if I made any mistakes or hopefully the good picks I've made during that draft. But before we go into that, how was your week, Yuki?
My week's been pretty good. I've started doing coaching, and I made a post on Twitter, and the reception has actually been pretty good. Last week, I think I did about 10 hours total of coaching. So that's been fun. It's kind of like I teach as my day job, and obviously I play a bunch of fab, so it's kind of right up my alley. But I haven't actually coached fab before, and so I've been doing a lot of that. Haven't been playing that many events, mostly just been resting and coaching and working. But I've really been enjoying doing that. And yeah, if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on Discord. My rate is right now $50 an hour. So that's sort of what I've been doing. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Went to a couple armories. I think that's more or less my week. How about yours, Jay?
Yeah, my week's been pretty good. I've been grinding up some armory to make sure I have some XP for national season. The locals in our area is quite tough, so even top fouring these events might be a little hard, or like I don't really want to travel for the RTNs this year, so I'm basically just grinding the local armories to make sure I have enough I can qualify through XP. I saw you show up yesterday at the armory, but did you end up even playing that event?
No. So I didn't actually have coaching yesterday. I could have played the event, but honestly, I was just feeling pretty tired and I didn't really want to commit to a whole armory. So what ended up happening is I was like, let me know if you guys are odd, and then maybe I can convince someone to play bento box with me. And then sure enough, Demos messaged me and went, "Oh, we're odd and I have the buy and I'd like to play bento." So I drove over. I live only about like a 5-minute drive away, so it's pretty quick for me to head over. And yeah, we just jammed some bento box. I found another victim who had the buy in round 2. And we got to play some bento there as well. And then I think I went home. So it was just, honestly, it was kind of perfect. I didn't feel like playing like 3 or 4 rounds of CC.
That's fair, that's fair. I actually recently sold my Fendel's tunic, and I didn't have a tunic for yesterday, and I'm just like, wow, every deck in this game uses tunic. I don't have a deck. And the other deck that I had access to or have most of the cards for is Dash. But I sold my 4 Teklo Foundry Hearts, so I don't have any. And I was like, oh, I'm missing Teklo Foundry Heart. And
Yeah.
I just didn't have a deck I could play yesterday. Ended up just leaving up tectonic plating and playing Oldham. And I was Yuki was telling me a little bit about a Vambrace Anathos variant of Oldham, and I just was like, okay, I'll just put tectonic plating, Crown of Providence, Vambrace, and Anathos, and let's just see what happens.
How'd it go?
If I had Tunic, I would have won, I think, all of my games that I've played. But I didn't have Tunic, so I ended up losing by about 1 or 2 life. What I do have to say is Anathos Vambrace was pretty sick. I thought it was more of a meme, and then when I played it, it was like way better than a meme. If I change my deck a little bit more to support Vambrace Anathos, I think it'll be better. And I don't think it's for every matchup, but against the matchups that is good, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's definitely sideboard tech. I think it pairs. So the interaction is because Vambrace is a reaction. If you pitch a card to it, Anathos, it checks to see if you have 2-3 costs in your pitch at all times. So just like how you could Anathos for 4 and then pummel it, and it raises the base to 6 and then also gets the pummel buff on top, you can basically do the same thing with Vambrace. You don't get any extra bonus besides the damage prevention, but you do bump up the power from 4 to 6. And just having the option of okay, you block 6, I'm going to arsenal this card, or oh, you block 3 or you don't block, okay, take 6, is really, really good. And your opponent kind of just has to constantly play around this threat of you just giving your weapon +2 and turning off their prevention if they are playing something like Crown of Seeds. I've heard it's really good in the mirror. I was saying that I think it benefits from having Crown of Seeds, because then even if you have some like blue choke slam in your hand or something that's like not a fantastic card to put into your arsenal, if you have Crown of Seeds, you can just arsenal it and then crown it away at some later point.
Honestly, if I had Tunic and was able to like use the resource crown of seeds, put it to the bottom, draw a card, I would have definitely won like almost all of my games for sure. And tectonic plating with Anasos was actually pretty sweet, where you like got to make a seismic surge sometimes and come in with like a 4 cost red attack for 1 pitch and stuff like that. But man, I just realized how good Tunic was in Oldham, and
Yeah,
oh, I miss that card so much. I'm actually getting one in the mail right now, and I have one coming in on Saturday. I'm picking one up at the RTN this weekend as well.
nice. Yeah, it's definitely it's a staple for a reason.
Yeah, card too good. Card is way too good. If you haven't picked up your own Tunic yet for whatever reason, that should probably be the first card to pick up. Honestly, that card needs a reprint, I think. Like that card
Yeah,
is coming up to like 200 US for like the white bordered non-foil, or the crewneck is like almost $230, I think, US. The rainbow foil one is just like impossible to find nowadays.
yeah, absolutely. And just about every deck plays it, as you mentioned. And often, if you were picking up a deck that doesn't use Tunic, you could probably play Tunic in a pinch and like it'd be an okay substitution if you're just trying out the deck or you don't have all the cards. So like yeah, so even if a deck doesn't play Tunic as its actual best in slot, you can always just put Tunic in that deck and it's never going to be that bad, even if there is like a better option. For most decks, like Tunic's a pretty serviceable substitute. Like if you had to play Tunic and Dash, yeah, it's probably worse. It's definitely worse than Teklo Hard, but like you could play the deck and give it a try and not feel too terrible about it. So it's definitely a good piece to own. You can try out other decks, slot it in there, and it'll be fine.
And surprisingly, just like all the chess pieces in this game, quite expensive. Like Teklo Foundry Heart's like 100 some bucks, and what is that? Flame Scale Furnace is like 100 some bucks. Anyways, it's just like all of these chess pieces are expensive anyways. So if you just have a tunic, like you can't go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to the main topic. So on the YouTube, we're gonna have the video streaming right now, so you can actually follow the picks. If you are listening on any of the podcast streaming sites like Spotify, we will be naming most of the notable cards. We might not say all the cards in the pack, because then that just gets too long. But any of the notable cards left in the pack, such as like maybe a premium card for another class, or like the cards that we're picking between, we'll definitely make sure to just say that, so you guys don't have to watch the video to keep up with what we're talking about here.
Yeah, sounds good. So I haven't seen this draft before. I'm excited to kind of watch Jay's picks and kind of talk through it. Do you want to read out kind of the cards that stand out, and then maybe I can give you my thoughts and you can give yours, since it's your draft. So I think you can kind of like explain what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. Well, I guess one side note would be where this draft was. This draft was on draftfab.com, which means that there are foils in the packs that aren't supposed to be foils. So there's a slightly higher chance of getting a card like Come to Fight or Ravenous Rabble. The people I'm drafting with, this is an 8-man pod with the Savage Land guys. So these guys are pretty good, and some of them are preparing for the Pro Tour. If you are curious, I'm pretty sure this whole draft and the games are at the Savage Land YouTube channel, so you should be able to find at least some of the content, or at least his draft, on that channel there.
And your draft is available on the Bauble, right?
This one in particular that we're going to be talking about is currently not.
Oh, okay.
I had some internet issues, so I ended up just recording it onto my computer. I have been too lazy to post it onto the channel, so it is not up there. So this one is a fresh draft. No one other than myself should have seen it.
Okay, perfect. Excited to jump in.
So for the first pack we have here, I'm just gonna name out some of the notable cards here. For generics, we're looking at red Come to Fight, red Peace of Mind, and red Wreck Havoc. Other ones would be there's a yellow cut down to size. For the class cards, let's start with the assassin cards. We see one red Wither, one red Malgan. Malgan? Malgan.
Malign.
Malign. Man, this card is. I keep on pronouncing it as Malagan. It's just like I hate this word. Okay, either way, we have the red infecting shot for Ranger, and we have spinning wheel kick for Ninja and red head jab as well.
Pretty strong pack overall. If I'm looking at this pack, I'm noticing that we have three ninja cards, three ranger cards, and two assassin cards. Then there's like a hybrid in there, a yellow short and sharp, nothing too notable. But I'm going to try and remember that even if I can't remember all the cards, I'm going to try and remember there's three ninja, three ranger, and two assassin. And that way, when the wheel comes back, I can sort of like figure out what's missing and maybe get an idea of what's at the table. For me, what stands out here is probably for the class cards. I think Infecting Shot for Ranger is pretty good, but I don't really want to get into Ranger with an arrow. Spinning Wheel Kick for Ninja is quite premium and not a bad place to start my draft. I'd be decently happy picking Spinning Wheel Kick if I wanted to draft Ninja. Red Wither, I think, is a pretty good one. It fits nicely into Arachne, into Azuri, maybe a little bit more replaceable. And then I think of the generics, I'm the highest on the red Come to Fight here. Red Peace of Mind, I don't mind, but you don't. I find you don't want too many of them, so I probably wouldn't be pack one picking it, pack one pick oneing it. And I think the red Come to Fight is just it goes in more places than Wreck Havoc. Wreck Havoc is like probably its best home is Azuri. Maybe you could play it in like Katsu as well. Overall, I think I would lean towards the Come to Fight for the flexibility, but I could also see it's close between that and Spinning Wheel Kick for me.
Okay, that's interesting. I think if my memory serves right here for me, I ended up picking Wreck Havoc in this pack. This one, I don't think it's too close to me. I actually am not that high. I'm not that high on red Come to Fight as a card.
Mm-hmm.
The Come to Fight is just going to be a 3 block in almost every deck that I play. So I actually don't care which color of Come to Fight that I pick, but my memory might be wrong. I know that in this video right now, I am debating between Come to Fight and Wreck Havoc because I just don't really want to commit into a hero yet. And if I were to pick a class card though, it will be Spinning Wheel Kick. And looks
Yeah.
like here I did pick the red Wreck Havoc here. I actually don't agree with you that Wreck Havoc only goes into Azuri or maybe Katsu. If when I do pick Wreck Havoc, I'm actually just like really wanting that card in Benji or Katsu as well. It just is a difference in that when I play Ninja, I'm trying to do the 1-1 Kodachi more often than not.
Oh no, but I was saying I would play it in Katsu. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Like you're saying that it's best in Azuri, but I think it's actually better in Ninja than it is in.
Oh no. Like I was saying I would play it in Azuri or Katsu, but I feel like Come to Fight I would actually play in every deck, even though it's maybe a little bit lower pick.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I just like think that the power of the 2 cost for 6 is just like a little bit better than just like a generic
Mhm.
3 block, and that's why I picked Wreck Havoc here.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that it's probably a little bit better card in Assassin and Ninja, and then Come to Fight gets a little added flexibility, and then I think it's actually quite good in the Rangers, both because it can block through a Spider's Bite, and for Azalea, it's also a pump. So Come to Fight a little more flexible, and I could see Wreck Havoc being maybe a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the second pack here. We're gonna start with the generics again. The notable generics here will be red Destructive Deliberation. There's a yellow Come to Fight, blue Ravenous Rabble, and this is the weird one here where there's also a foil blue Ravenous Rabble in here. For notable hybrid cards, we have a red Hurl. Going from the assassin cards, there isn't really anything too powerful in this pack. There's like a yellow Infect. There is a definite missing ranger card, or like there's no good ranger cards in this pack. And for the ninja cards, there are yellow Twin Twister and a blue 3 block ninja card.
I think because there's the four generics in the pack, that typically means there will be 5 class cards. So I think it's likely that a class card isn't missing here. It's probably maybe like a rare. Well, we have 2 rares. Interesting. Yeah, maybe a hybrid card missing here. Equipment's missing. That's what we're missing here. So somebody took equipment out of this pack. I think for me, this is a pretty clear hurl. It just feels like the best card by quite a bit to me. I think I'm a little bit lower on Destructive Deliberation than some people. I quite like Hurl as a card, and I like it as a good finisher. So I think I would pick up Hurl here. It's also quite flexible, which I like.
What did I pick here? Now that I'm looking at this draft, looks like I end up picking up Destructive Deliberation from this pack. I'll be honest, I don't know why I picked Destructive Deliberation from this pack. If it is me now re-looking at this draft, pack 1, pick 2, I would also pick Hurl. I don't know why I'm not picking Hurl here.
Eh, it's fair.
Maybe
I mean, card evaluations change over time, right? And your understanding of the format now might not be the same as your understanding of the format on.
maybe because I picked the Wreck Havoc on the pack 1, I'm just valuing this red 2 cost to make sure that, like, when I do move into Azuri, that the Destructive Deliver, like, I have enough targets for Azuri's ability. But if I'm doing that, then I guess Red Hurl is just still better in Azuri. At least the first copy of Red Hurl is very premium in that deck. So I also agree that I think I should be picking up the Red Hurl, but I think the next card after that would be Destructive Deliberation for me. So then I'm picking the second best card from this pack is at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. After that, it's like maybe yellow Infect or yellow Twin Twisters. But I think considering that we don't have any class cards yet, I think Hurl and Destructive Deliberation are both more flexible and arguably more powerful, or like maybe comparable in power. They go into slightly different decks, perhaps, but fairly close on power level. So I think you're often comparing like what's the difference in power level versus the difference in flexibility. And in this case, the most flexible cards are also some of the strongest. So I would just go for the flexibility.
Yeah, so it's one of those two red cards, Red Hurl, Red Destructive Deliberation. In this draft in particular, we're looking at a draft where I end up picking Destructive Deliberation. And we're going to move on to pick 3. In this pack, we have no notable generics in this pack. We do have a equipment, which is Mask of Malicious Manifestation. Starting from the Assassin cards, we have Red Wither. Ranger cards, there's a blue Widowmaker, yellow Infecting Shot, and red Murktide Grapnel. So there's a couple of so there's a bunch of arrows in this pack. And for the ninja cards, we have a blue Bonds of Ancestry and a red 1-2 punch. Honestly, red 1-2 punch is basically just a 3-block. In my mind, currently, it serves as like a come to fight that gets debuffed. So not a premium for me anymore.
I think I agree with that. Definitely a little bit of a weak pack. Geez, I guess the cards that stand out for me, if I wanted to draft Ninja, it would be red 1-2 punch, but I don't know if I'm wanting to get into the deck for that. You could also draft blue Bonds, but I think it's not fantastic. The yellow Infecting Shot is sort of standout because of the density of Ranger cards as well, although getting into Ranger for arrows can be quite risky. The Red Weather here does look like a fairly safe pick to me and is maybe the strongest card, but it does have the downside of being the downside or upside potentially of being the lone assassin card. So there's 3 generics, and then there's that Red Wither, and then two ninja, 2 ranger. And because of that, there's a possibility somebody ahead of me has taken a assassin common. But I think even if that's the case, I'd be pretty okay just cutting assassin and taking red weather here. But yeah, it's between that and maybe the yellow Infecting Shot if I wanted to draft ranger, I think.
I remember this pick quite well. I also had the same idea that an assassin card has been picked from this pack. In this pack, there's a hybrid card missing, a assassin ranger hybrid card missing, and looks like a assassin common missing. And I just thought that if it was picked, it's probably like a red infect or some kind of assassin card. The card I end up picking here is actually blue Bonds of Ancestry. This is because in the earlier 2 packs, I saw a blue 3-block ninja card, and I was attempting to wheel one of those 3-block blue cards. And I knew that because those packs had a density of really strong cards for other classes as well. There was a high chance that as long as one of the blue 3 blocks wheeled, then I can get into a ninja deck with a bunch of 3 blocks. And Bonds Ancestry Blue, I was just picking up as a way to be still open for the Bonds of Ancestry Surging Strike deck, and it still serves as a 3 block in Ninja. So I picked that over the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that regardless of which one, there's a certain amount of preference here. I think if you want to lean into ninja or you want to lean into assassin, but I think regardless of which one of the two you pick, you're still not at all committed. Like we still have the red hurl and the destructive deliberation, so we're sort of feeling out the pack and trying to get a sense of what's at the table. So I think either of those is a good option. And I think the biggest thing about the infecting shot is like we just don't have great cards in Ranger. Like, yeah, we can play Destructive Deliberation in like a Riptide deck, but it's not exciting. So yeah, I think I'm with you. The more that we talk about it.
Then I ended up picking up the Bonds. So right now we have Wreck Havoc, Destructive Deliberation, and Bonds in our pool. Pick 4, notable generics would be the Yellow Ravenous Rabble. Starting with the Assassin cards, there's a Red Infect in here, which is pretty good. Short and Sharp for the Assassin Ninja Hybrid card. Ranger cards, there's a Red Sedation Shot and a Tarpit Trap. Ninja cards, we see a red Twin Twisters and Mask of Many Faces as the equipment.
Yeah, so again, we're seeing that 2 ninja, 2 ranger, 1 assassin common in the pack. At this point, I'd be decently sure that there's an assassin passing to me since we've seen 2 packs with 1 assassin common. And additionally, I think Mask of Many Faces and Twin Twisters are both really premium. So I'd be pretty like I talked about maybe pack one pick winning Twin Twisters and Mask of Many Faces. I think I would have definitely pack one pick one in that first pack. So I'd say like the 3 people passing to us probably aren't ninja, and I'd be pretty comfortable picking up Mask of Many Faces and just switching to ninja, even had I picked the red wither on the previous pack.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I also end up picking up Mask of Many Faces here, and yeah, looks like I do. As Yuki said, I would pack one, pick one, Mask of Many Faces as well. So when I see 3 people not picking that card, pack one, pick one, that's like my go signal to like just start moving into Ninja. And I think at this point, once I have the Mask of Many Faces and I saw the red Twin Twisters, if 3 people on my right is not picking up Ninja, that's my go signal to just like, okay, this is my lane. I'm going to stick with this hero now.
Yeah, I think I agree that it's a strong enough signal that I'd be pretty close to locked on ninja. I think it would take ninja being extremely cut in the next couple of packs for that to not be the case, but I think that that's pretty unlikely given that it didn't seem like ninja commons were missing, even if they were weaker ninja commons. And then we also didn't see premium ninja commons missing in pick 4. So very likely to be just kind of locking in ninja here, but still paying attention to what's getting passed to us.
We are going to pick 5 of the first pack. So, yet again, we're just talking about the generics. Notable generics, there's just a yellow Destructive Deliberation, not too powerful. For the Assassin cards, we have a blue Sedate. Ninja cards, we have a yellow Twin Twisters, which is pretty cool. And notably, there is 3 Ranger cards in this pack, but it's blue Widowmaker, blue Skybound Shot, yellow Skybound Shot. And as an equipment, there's a Seeker's Mitts.
Yeah, so I think given that we just picked Mask of Many Faces, this is a pretty easy yellow Twin Twisters for me. If you are a Ranger here, I think like if you did do Come to Fight into an Infecting Shot, like you probably are in a deck that is open, but you really don't have the pumps, and so I think you're really hoping that you can be Riptide, and it's a little bit scary. I think that ninja is definitely where you want to be if you're drafting this seat, and I think that you should be able to pick that up from the previous pack and then followed up by the yellow Twin Twisters. I think you should be able to identify that ninja's what you should be drafting in your seat.
Yeah, what's interesting though is like, let's say you did go into the ranger picks on the seat. You probably do actually have like a pretty open ranger seat because the cards you ended up picking to move into ranger are these like dinky arrows basically. You're gonna
Mhm.
have a hard time closing out the game, and a lot of decks will be able to like really turn the corner on you or like have some explosive turn on you, and you're not gonna be able to deploy like a 4 card hand ever. So even if you do end up with like an open so and so like Riptide Fatigue deck, it might not be good enough.
I think if you are in Ranger, you're really hoping that you get paid off in the future picks here and there's some stronger cards. But I agree that like these are the spots where even though I see that, yeah, Ranger's pretty open because there's not very many missing. These are the seats where I try to avoid Ranger. I think there's a little bit of a trap getting into Ranger here, unless you start the draft with like if you start the draft with like a Lace with Blood Rod and a Lace with Frailty, pack one, pick one and two. At that point, it's completely different, and you're much happier drafting these arrows. And you go, yeah, I'm probably going to get enough good arrows to be reasonably happy. So, yeah, maybe just a note about when and how to get into Ranger.
And yes, I do end up picking the yellow Twin Twisters from this pack. It's definitely just like the most cohesive and powerful card. So moving on to pick 6, we have for the generics, nothing. For Assassin, we have a blue Malign. Ninja cards, there's another yellow Twin Twister, and there's a red Deadly Duel, which is pretty cool. Ranger cards, we have a blue Infecting Shot, which is serviceable, and red Skybound Shot, which is also serviceable-ish.
Yeah. So notably, the red deadly duo in the pack is the foil. So that means that there's only one ninja common, meaning there's probably one other ninja at the table. It's not a terrible thing. It's pretty normal for there to be two of a class, but yeah, just noting that. And I think we're pretty happy to pick up the second yellow Twin Twisters here. Honestly, looking like a pretty good Benji start with two yellow Twin Twisters in our deck and a Hurl.
Yeah, no, this is same for me. I can't think of picking any other card at this point. And at this pick, I know now that I can't be moved off of Ninja. There's just no way. I'm just gonna be review the pack at this point. We have as an equipment, we have Mask of Many Faces, we have Destructive Deliberation Red and Wreck Havoc Red. We have the 2 yellow Twin Twisters and Bonds of Ancestry. In this current list, it's basically just a 3 block. And we're gonna blast through pick 7. Actually, sorry, there's an interesting card in here, so we'll talk about pick 7. So in the next pack, generics, we have nothing interesting other than blue feisty locals for Ninja. There is no assassin cards, so assassin's definitely cut. For the Ninja, we have Twin Twisters blue, yellow head jab, and Cyclone Roundhouse as the foil in the pack. The Ranger cards, there still is a yellow Widowmaker.
So here I think it's really between the yellow head jab and the yellow cyclone roundhouse. I haven't actually played cyclone roundhouse in draft, but it strikes me as pretty strong. Just the 2 for 5 that blocks 3 and is also a yellow to pitch to wreck havoc or destructive deliberation seems strong. And I think because you have Mask of Many Faces and the 2 yellow twin twisters, you can pretty reasonably make this combo. And the text of banishing a defending card at random probably means that your opponent's either eating 5 or you're like this is effectively coming in for 7 or 8 because it's taking away a 2 or a 3 block. So I imagine that it's actually pretty strong here, and I think I would definitely pick it up to both to try it out and because I think it's reasonably better than head job.
My evaluations, actually, at this point, I've actually already played with a Cyclone Roundhouse before. This card is insane. This card, I don't even know how it managed to get this far. This is a kind of card, actually, that I would probably move into Ninja for, and I think it's that powerful. I'm just going to explain a little bit about why Cyclone Roundhouse is really powerful. The rate on the card is very good and everything. It's a 3 block as well. It's a yellow pitch and everything about that. But the main thing I want to talk about Cyclone Roundhouse would be how Ninja typically wins the game. So when playing against Ninja or playing with Ninja, what you want to do as a Ninja player would be to get your opponent to 1 life or to 2 life so you can Kodachi lock them. And once you get to the Kodachi lock, you almost can't lose unless you're playing against like Riptide and they give you a frailty token like 4 turns in a row or something like that. Cyclo Roundhouse is this unblockable damage that comes after a card called Spinning Wheel Kick. If you have a yellow or red Spinning Wheel Kick, you go pitch a blue playing Spinning Wheel Kick, attack with Cyclone Roundhouse. So you end up going for 4 go again, then 5. That's basically unblockable. And if your opponent has took any damage at this point, they either have to give up their whole hand and you get 3 cards for the Cyclo Roundhouse, or they have to take 5 and go to something like 3 or 4 life. 4 life, if you're Benji, means that your opponent's basically Kodachi locked. So the earlier you can get your opponent to the Kodachi lock state, the better your chances of winning the game is. And Cycler Roundhouse just does this phenomenal job of like both ripping up your opponent's hand if that's if it's too early in the game, or getting your opponent to like that 4 life range where you just get to Kodachi lock them. So this is a card that just like works cohesive with like both Benji and Katsu because it's a combo card you can find with Katsu, and just because your opponent has to be at 4 life for Benji, this card is just like relevant throughout the game no matter when you draw it.
Yeah, good to know. And I think having mask here does make it like even better. One thing I'd recommend in general for people is if you see these Majestics and you're not sure how good they are, but you think they could be good, I would lean towards picking them just so that you get to try them out. And that way, if you're ever at your RTN or some other draft with a little bit higher stakes, you already know if that card is good or not. And, just the Majestics are hard to get an opportunity to play with. So try them out when you can.
Now that you say this, I really don't want to post this video before the RTN's coming up in Vancouver now, because now if someone opens Cyclo Roundhouse, they'll pick it.
Gotta hide the tech until RTN's over.
Yeah. Post it on Sunday afternoon after the drafts are over, right?
No, you can post it when the drafts begin.
Ah, you're right. No, I'll have it. Hopefully, I'll have this edited up and posted by Friday, so people can listen to it before the RTNs. Okay, and obviously, because I talked about Cyclo Roundhouse so much, and going into the 8th pick, which is the last pack that we haven't seen, from now on, actually, we're only going to be pulling or mentioning the ninja cards in every pack, because there's no way we can, or we are going to move off of ninja at this point.
I think we can just talk about anything notable and what we would pick and why.
Pick 8, there's a blue head jab. Nothing else that really stands out. There's like a red brush off, but
there's also a yellow deadly duo, which is fine, but we have no blue zeros. So I think this head jab's a very I think we're actually happy to see this head jab here. It's actively good for us.
I would try and stay away from yellow deadly duo anyways. Typically, if I have like 31 or 32 cards playable, that card just ends up getting cut, even if I am Benji. So I just don't want it right now.
Yeah, kind of agree.
The pick 9 actually is going to be our wheel here. And this is the pack that we had red spinning wheel kick. As we can see here, there is a blue back heel kick in that same pack. As I said when we were talking about pick 3 of this pack 1, this is the exact situation I wanted to see myself in, is where I got to wheel the blue 3 block ninja card. And in the next pack, in pick 10, we're not there yet, but in pick 10, there was a pack with double blue ninja 3 block, and that's probably going to be the card that I will end up wheeling there as well. And there's nothing else notable for us in this pack. In pick 9 and pick 10, I'm pretty sure, so we'll just skip through that.
Pick 10, I guess there's either a blue Ravenous Rabble or another yellow Twin Twisters. I kind of like the it's close. I like the blue because we're low on blues. We only have 2. I wouldn't mind picking it up and having an opportunity to take more powerful cards later, but yellow Twin Twisters is solid in Benji.
Yeah, in pick 10, looks like I end up picking up yellow Twin Twisters. I value just like having that powerful cards. Like just making sure that I have the cards that can deal damage is very important. And blue zero costs are, you'll be able to find them eventually somewhere, always.
That's fair.
Pick 11.
Yeah, we have the choice between like a yellow brush off or a yellow freewheeling renegade. I don't think it matters too much. I like the freewheeling renegade more though, for sure.
Yeah, I think I end up picking the yellow freewheeling. Honestly, these cards are probably gonna get cut from my final deck. If I remember correctly.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So we move on to pick 12. In this pack, we get a red Twin Twisters.
Yeah, so slamming this Twin Twisters, very happy to see it. Definitely in the right deck for our seat. Very happy to pick that up. Pick 13, it looks like there's just a looking for a scrap blue. Probably not playing it, but no other choices. And pick 14, we get shoved another looking for a scrap blue, which is not the most terrible card, but not fantastic either.
Okay, so we're in the review period of pack 1. Just to summarize, we have a Mask of Many Faces equipment, The three red cards, you just have the Red Havoc, Destructive Delusion, Twin Twisters. Yellow cards where we have triple yellow Twin Twisters, Cyclone Roundhouse, and Freewheeling Renegades. For our blues, we have a Bonds of Ancestry that blocks for 3, back heel kick, head jab, and the 2 looking for the straps. So we are a little bit low on zero cost right now, and that is the thing that's going to be a priority at this point to just make sure that we can pick up in pack 2.
And how are you feeling about the draft right now?
Honestly, when you see that red Twin Twisters in like pick 12, you have to be happy, right?
I think so. And I think that you're in a really good spot. And well, I think you don't necessarily need to pick your hero early. The three yellow twin twisters is giving me a pretty big sign that like I might want to lean towards Benji.
Yeah, I think once you have the 3 copies of a card that's like better than one hero, I think whenever you are handed that decision, you want to be picking towards Benji cards now more than cards that are better in Katsu.
And you have the mask, so you can still use like a Gust Wave or a Bonds, no problem. You're happy to take those cards.
So we'll move on to the second pack, pick 1. For the generics that might be good, we have Freewheeling Renegades Red. I love this card. There's a red brush off. And for our ninja cards, we're looking at Red Descendant Gust Wave. And there's another blue Bonds of Ancestry in here. And I guess there's a Seeker's Legging, which is my favorite Seeker's equipment. The legs is the best one.
Yeah, it just has the least competition, so it tends to be the most frequently played. For me, this is between Descendant Gustwave and Freewheeling Renegades, but I think Gustwave is decently better. With a mask is just easily kind of like a 1 for 5, which is really strong.
Yeah.
It also enables our blue bonds that we have, so
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I ended up picking the Descendant Gust Wave here. The red Freewheeling Renegades is very tempting, but Descendant Gust Wave just have the higher ceiling of like if I end up like finding a red Surging Strike, this card gets way better. If I end up finding a red Bonds later, it's way better. And just like it's still early. You don't know if you're gonna get these cards, but just making sure you have the option to go into it if it does come around, it's just very powerful. So in the pack 2 pick 2, the notable cards will be red cut down a size, the red Seek Horizon. We have 2 Come to Fights. There's a yellow and a blue one. For the ninja cards, we have blue Spinning Wheel Kick, red Descendant Gust Wave, blue Be Like Water. And I guess we have a Seeker's Gillet as the chess piece Seeker's equipment as well that we could pick.
definitely a lot of pretty good options. I think I would take Descendant Gustwave again, just because I value that card pretty highly and know that I'm pretty likely to wheel something solid out of this pack. Like I think it's not out of the world. It's not too unlikely to be able to wheel like a Be Like Water or a Come to Fight. So
Now looking at this pack, I do somewhat like the Be Like Water as well. Maybe if I am like this is like hindsight 2020 kind of thing, but maybe like Be Like Water would have been my pick at this point. Just because like I don't have that many zero cost blues in this deck currently, and I want to get up to that 8 copies of the zero cost, and that feels like a little bit more important to me. And maybe Be Like Water would have been a better pick for me, but this is hindsight 20, that like the perfect hindsight thing. So I think here I do end up picking Descendant Gust Wave.
And I think that's where it's like interesting to think back to that yellow Twin Twisters pick in pack 1, where the option was between Rabble and the yellow Twin Twisters. I do think the yellow Twin Twisters is really good, but just if you did pick the Rabble here, you would be able to pick the Descendant Gust Wave and feel a little bit less bad about it. So that's sort of like, not to say one is better or worse, but there's definitely a trade-off of like getting your blues early lets you take powerful cards when you see them later, if you do see them. So there's always a bit of a trade-off there of like, do you think you're going to be able to do better than that in a future pack?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And honestly, if we did do that, then we'll be way more open to actually move into Katsu as well. So you actually have that extra flexibility there as well. So we do end up picking up the Descendant Gust Wave, and we're going to be looking at pick 3 of pack 2. For generics, we have Spring Load Red and Yellow Come to Fight. There is a Feisty Locals Blue, which is a zero cost blue pitch. For the ninja cards, we just have a yellow Surging Strike and a yellow Head Jab.
So I'm not especially high on yellow Surging Strike, and I think yellow Head Jab is just okay. Spring Load is probably the most powerful card in the pack, but I might lean towards that blue Feisty Locals just for what we were just talking about, needing blues and identifying that we kind of got to get it. But spring load is also defensible. It's just a matter of the more that we take cards now, the less flexibility we have later in the draft. Like later in the draft, we kind of have to take blues, even if there's a very good card. So that's sort of the trade off here.
I agree with you. I think blue feisty locals will let me stay open, but I think Spring Load is a kind of card. Unlike Descendant Gust Wave, this card is almost always a 1 for 5. With a blue zero cost, this card ends up producing a 7 point turn, where you can go pitch a blue, Kodachi, Kodachi, Spring Load after blocking with 3 cards. And that's just like a play pattern that will typically end up winning you the game if you can do that like 2 turns in a row kind of thing. And I value Spring Load pretty highly, and there's no way I end up picking up a blue feisty locals for like instead of the Spring Load. Like I'm happy with like 4 copies of red Spring Load. So unlike if this card was like Descendant Gust Wave, I would actually pick up feisty locals, where I think I like that. I want to have that like flexibility, as you said, but I want that flexibility to pick up cards like Spring Load, so I'm not passing up a Spring Load for that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think I personally value the second Descending Gust Wave a little bit more highly, specifically when we already have Mask. But yeah, that's interesting. So maybe we just have a little different opinions on those cards. I think they're both very good cards, to be clear.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, they're both very good cards. It's just I think I value the raw power of like not needing to put a hand together, not needing to put a pitch stack together, and Spring Load is just like always good. Whereas Ascend and
Mhm.
Gust Wave really requires you to draft a deck that like cohesively works with Ascend and Gust Wave. And when you end up not getting the deck you want, then Red Descend and Gust Wave is like just a little bit awkward because if you play it out as is, it is a head jab that costs 1.
Fair enough.
So yeah, as I said strongly, I can't, I cannot not pick Spring Load. Just who I am, so I ended up picking that card. And pick 4. There's a very couple of good notable generics here. We have Red Ravenous Rabble, Red Looking for a Scrap. There's also Blue Feisty locals. And for the ninja cards, there's a yellow head jab, yellow 1/2 punch.
I think the pick is pretty clearly looking for a scrap. It's just really powerful. 1 for 5 go again is great, and it does work with any of the sort of ninja zero costs that you were going to be playing at blue anyways. I do have a question for you though, Jay. If looking for a scrap wasn't in this, like let's say the pick is between blue feisty locals, yellow head jab, and yellow 1/2 punch, which of those three would you be picking if those are the only three options?
With this current deck configuration, it will be blue feisty locals because we keep on talking about this last like 2 packs where we're really trying to convince ourselves that this red is better than a blue 3 pitch. And the more we do that, the more we pick the red, the more we need the blues. So I would just end up picking up the blue feisty locals. And then I guess a more interesting question would be which one's better, yellow head jab or yellow 1/2 punch, if both of those cards were missing. If both looking for a scrap and
Mhm.
feisty locals missing from this pack.
I think for myself, I probably value the 3 block a little bit higher, but it's close. And there's like a bit of a sliding scale where you don't want your whole deck to be these yellow combo cards that block 3. So maybe if you have a lot of those and you don't have much go again and you have some like head jab combo lines, then maybe the head jab goes up. But I think personally I'd lean towards the 1/2 punch. How about you?
I almost never pick yellow head jab at this point. I'd rather just have a red, honestly. So
Mhm.
like a yellow or a blue. The yellow head jab's a little bit awkward. Even if you are a Benji and it is unblockable, it doesn't actually pose that much of a threat to your opponent. Obviously, they're gonna be unhappy they can't block for 2 if their hand was like wanting to block essentially. But a lot of the time, 2 damage they just don't care. Like they obviously unless they're at 2 life, at the start of the game, head jab for 2, they're gonna say no blocks. Like it doesn't really matter if like even if it didn't have the text of this card can't be blocked, there's like a high chance that they'll just take it anyways. You just don't really want to have a card like that anyways. You would rather do something more powerful. And let's say you end up pitching this card, it just ends up being a Kodachi, which is also just 2. So I don't know. I'm like not that high on yellow head jab just in any ninja deck at this point.
Yeah, I think I agree with all that. It does get a little bit better if you have like red 1-2 punch and red recoil, because then you push them up to a 4 in Benji, but like I'd rather just have the 3 block. That's to say that like head jab can be yellow head jab can be playable, but I don't think it's a high pick.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But either way, this is a red looking for a scrap. That card's broken. That card's busted. Try and make it
Mhm.
work, and this is gonna be my pick.
I think a pretty clear one and a card that I'd be really happy to see at this point.
Okay, coming up to pick 5. So for generics, we have a Feisty Locals Blue again, and Comp to Fight Yellow. For the ninja cards, we're looking at Red Head Jab, Blue Back Heel Kick, and I guess there's a Blade Cuffs as a arm piece that blocks for 1.
I do like blade cuffs quite a bit, and I think that in a lot of spots I'd be looking to take blade cuffs here. But I think considering we've been talking about the need for blues and that we just picked up looking for a scrap which wants 1 power blues, back heel kick is just super premium.
Yep, I agree. And this pick, I probably made it in like 3 seconds. I'm like, blue line, 0 cost, 3 block. This is a premium card for me right at this point. Moving on pretty quickly. The next pack here, we have Red Peace of Mind as the generic. For the ninja cards, that's interesting would be Yellow Back Heel Kick or Red Deadly Duo.
I think I'm pretty happy just to take the yellow back heel kick. It's a 3 block. We mentioned those being quite important. And in a pinch, it pitches to your Kodachis. It's not what you want to be doing, but it's nice. It's nice to have the option to do it, I would say.
Hmm. I know what I picked here. I picked Red Peace of Mind here. Now that I think about it, I think I should have picked the yellow back heel kick as well. But the reasoning behind me picking this red piece of mine here was we are short on blue 0 costs. But we do have blue bonds. We have 2 blue looking for scraps. So we have blues that aren't the 0 cost, which we can pitch on our opponent's turn. So I was thinking that once we pick up this piece of mine, I can actually include these blues into my deck and use them as a block or to pitch it for piece of mine and find a secret equipment a little bit later. So then my turns will become pretty strong later, and I can use the ponder token. Ninja typically just like should be able to play most cards at the arsenal, and typically Benji, any blue becomes unblockable, and any red card is just premium to just play. So I ended up picking up Peace of Mind in this pack.
That makes sense to me. I think it is defensible for sure.
Okay, moving on to the pick 7 generics. We have Destructive Deliberation Red. I feel like this card shouldn't be here anymore. Like, this card's pretty good. Like, as a 6 pick, you should probably be picking up Destructive Deliberation in most decks. Other than that, we have Spring Load Yellow and Scout the Preferees as the blue 0 pitch. For ninja cards, we see a yellow Spinning Wheel Kick and a blue Surging Strike.
So I'm counting. We have 3 blue zeros. I think because of that, I'm going to take the discipline pick and take scout here. I think that you're hoping to take spinning wheel kick though. It is very good, especially considering we have 4 twin twisters and the cyclone roundhouse. But I don't know. I'd be worried about my blue count at this point, considering that we're on pick 7 of pack 2. We still need to pick up probably like 5 blue zeros, and so that's kind of where my head's at. But yeah, I'd be hoping to take spinning wheel kick here.
If my memory serves correctly, yeah, I end up picking Destructive Deliberation. I value this card pretty highly, and as I said, with the Ponder token being pretty good in Ninja, now that I look at this pick, I really wish I didn't pick this Destructive Deliberation. I have a feeling I didn't properly have a proper blue count. As we can see in the video here, I do have 6 blues, and but only half of them is the 0 cost, and yeah, I should have picked up the Scout for Preferees as a discipline pick here, but I definitely got greedy. I don't think I was thinking about it.
So, do you still like the destructive deliberation over the yellow spinning wheel kick, even though you have the 4 twin twisters to pair with it and the cyclone roundhouse?
Yeah, I think Destructive Deliberation is a kind of card that. So the way that I look at Destructive Deliberation is, I guess I'll go back even a little bit further. I think in Outsiders, you really can't afford your opponent ever keeping a 4 card hand if you're Benji or if you're Katsu. It's a little bit less punishing as Katsu, but in Benji, I feel like you need to make sure that your last attack on the combat chain is something where they can't just be like, okay, no blocks. Or you want to have a card that says, okay, I need to give you 2 cards for this card, or I'm gonna be behind. And Destructive Deliberation really does fill that role really well, where you can go pitch a blue attack with Kodachi, they take the one, and then attack with destruction deliberation, and they give you 2 cards, so they can't actually come at you with a full 4 card hand. And once they come at you with a full 4 card hand, you typically end up going too low. Then all your cards stop blocking well. Then that's just like a recipe for disaster. And to prevent that, I actually just really like Destructive Deliberation as a card where my opponent has to block it. Destructive Deliberation in particular, the red one, they have to block it with 2 cards. They can't just let one damage leak. They need to cover it all up. If they don't, then you get a card in your arsenal, which is pretty big game.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It seems like we just have like quite different card evaluations, but what you said makes a lot of sense. And I have found that I agree that you don't want your opponent keeping big hands. So I might try. In my head, this is like more of an assassin card, or like maybe even a Riptide card. But maybe I should just be playing this card more in Ninja. I think next time I draft Outsiders, I might be looking to try that out.
Yeah, interestingly, like unlike Cut Down a Size, where they get to only block with 1 card in League 3, the Destructive Deliberation of a card they can't just block with 1 card. It serves like a Cut Down a Size, but they have to cover 2 cards. It works really well in Ninja because let's say you have 3 cards in your hand and you go pitch a blue for Kodachi and start with that. You can always just pitch the other card in Kodachi and Destructive Deliberation, go 1-1-5, even if it's less efficient. Because you get the ponder on hit, and they basically now have to cover it up, you get to rip their hand apart. And once you rip most decks' hand apart, they can't really come in at you for big enough that you have to use 3 cards to block with. And if you have enough 3 blocks in your ninja deck, you're gonna draw at least one of it, and that's your block 3 card. You end up using that card to block, and then you can come in with a 3 card hand again, or just like at this with this math, then all of your cards that typically ninja card attacks better than they block, so you get to keep on deploying cards at them instead of like getting forced to block. At least that's my theory on ninja right now.
Okay, that's super interesting. I'm curious to try some of that out. Pack 2, pick 8. Looks like there is a red back heel kick and a blue Seek Horizon. I think it should be the blue Seek Horizon. We've been talking about blues. You need blues.
Yep.
I see you have the 3 block highlighted. I get it. The 3 block's good, but
Yeah, this is a mispick as well. I feel like I said this is a mispick like 3 times now. Like I really need the blue 0 cost. I don't know what I was thinking. Actually, sorry, I do know what I was thinking. I have 3 yellow twin twisters. This is a 0 for 5.
7.
7. This is a 0 for 7. How can I say no to a 0 for 7?
Yeah, and again, like I guess back to that earlier conversation, right? Of getting your blues early lets you pick this card. I agree. Back heel kick is the better card. I don't really value blue Seek Horizon that highly. It doesn't even turn on or looking for a scrap. But because we've chosen to take so many reds or other cards over the blues, like that blue keeps getting pushed up in importance.
Yeah, as like a spoiler, or not really a spoiler, I do end up going 2-1 with this deck. Now that I'm looking at this draft, like I feel like if I just pick some of these 0 cost blue cards, maybe I could have won this pod.
Yeah, and you probably don't have to pick all of them. Like we keep saying the blue, that doesn't mean every blue you pick or every blue you see you have to pick, but you kind of want to like when you're halfway through the draft, it's nice to be like have like roughly half your blues. Sometimes even being a little ahead is okay because then you know that you like don't have to spend picks on blues, but you want to roughly match it. And if we're still at 3 with most of pack 2 done, like now we're relying on seeing some of those blue 0 costs on the wheel, which just they might happen. They were in the packs, but we can't count on it either.
Yeah, it's looking quite sus with only 3 blue 0 costs in this at this point in the draft, honestly.
Yeah, definitely feeling behind.
So looking at pick 9, there's a red brush off and red freewheeling renegades as our only choices here. Which one would you pick?
Yeah, Freewheeling Renegade. I think we've talked about this card. It's very good, and I think that this is going criminally late. We kind of compared it to being like close to Springload, and Jay talked a lot about how good Springload is. Yeah.
Yep, nothing else for me to say there. I end up picking up red free reelings here. Okay, and going to pick 10.
Ooh. So there's a blue Come to Fight and a red Seek Horizon. I think that we actually have enough kind of like of these finishers that don't have go again. Like we have two Destructive Deliberation, we have the back heel kick, we have a spring load, we have the freewheeling renegade, we have a wreck havoc. I'm pretty happy to just take the blue 3 block, even though it doesn't pitch for Kodachis.
Oh, I think I end up picking Seeker's Gillet here. My justification of that is that I do want the Seekers because I have one red piece of mind, and I don't really want to be stuck in a spot where I can't find the Seekers equipment in pack 3. So I just wanted to lock up the first Seekers equipment for the piece of mind.
Then rounding out the rest of Pack 2 here, the blue Feisty Locals wheels, which we're super happy to see. Looks like you locked that in. Wow, another blue Feisty Local. So now we're up to our 5th blue and another, wow. So you get your 6th blue here, another blue Feisty Local. So you end up getting really rewarded. And I think there's something to be said for like maybe recognizing that the ninja seat here is quite open and that this is something that can happen. And sometimes you can take like a little bit of a risk on that. But it is a little bit risky. And again, I don't think you have to pick all of those the first time through, but picking up even like one or two just to be a little safer, I kind of like.
Yeah, I agree. It just ended up working out in this particular draft. But imagine if they don't come back, then my deck is just significantly worse.
And I've had this happen where you end pack 2 and you have like 3 blue zeros. That probably means that come pack 3, you just have to pick almost any blue zero cost that you see, even if it's over like a premium card, because the later it goes, the less like you are to see that card that you need, and your deck just doesn't function without it. So definitely not where you want to be, but right now your deck's looking pretty good. You have your 6 blue zeros. Do you want to kind of go through the list, I guess?
Yeah, sure. So for my equipment, we just have Mask of Many Faces and Seeker's Gillet. The reds we're pretty stacked up on. We have red Wreck Havoc, red Twin Twisters, red Spring Load, red Peace of Mind, Looking for Scraps, Free Reeling Renegades, the 2 Destructive Deliberations, 2 Descendant Gust Waves, and a back heel kick. Almost all of them premium. The yellows, we have Cyclone Roundhouse and 3 Twin Twisters. There is a Free Reeling Renegades and an Isolate, but those won't make the cut for sure. The blues, we have the 2 back heel kicks, a Bonds of Ancestry, and we have 3 feisty locals and a head jab, and 2 blue Looking for Scraps.
Yeah. So notably, so many of those blue zeros are 1 power. In fact, I think they all are, which means that we should be pretty good at turning on that red Looking for a Scrap that we have. So that's something that's really nice to note. Going into pack 3 here, Jay, what are we looking for? Because I often find that when I finish pack 2, I'm almost taking an inventory of like, here's what I have, here's what I don't have, and here's like kind of the pieces I need or I'm hoping to get to fill in the rest of my deck and have it look, as good as possible. So what are you kind of hoping to see come pack 3?
So right now, I think the cards missing would be a leg piece, a arm piece, and I think at this point, those are going to be very, very premium because I'm already pretty close to having like a 25, 24 cards that are already premium, and I only need 6 more cards to fill out my deck. And the arm piece and the leg piece, if I get like 2 more Seekers equipment or even like a Blade Cuffs, that's going to be like my priority of picking up. Other than that, I'm a little bit low on go again, so something like a spinning wheel kick or a red twin twisters would be really nice. 2 more blue zero costs at least would be.
And are you hoping to get more 3 blocks, or are you pretty happy with the amount of 3 blocks here right now?
I think because my deck is so red heavy and actually I am able to like put the pressure on my opponent and force my opponent to block. I am pretty happy with the amount of 3 blocks. There's not too many in this deck currently. And if I do see a 3 block, I'll probably just end up picking it up as well. But I think the equipment is a little bit better and a little bit more important at this point.
Makes a lot of sense. I think I have a lot of the same thoughts. And for reference, to any of our audio listeners, it looks like we have about 5 three blocks, and then a red Peace of Mind as well as a potential defensive tool. So not the most defense, but like Jay said, if you're able to pressure and just force their life totals down quickly, that kind of forces blocks and is preventing damage in another way as well.
Okay, so let's move on to pick one of pack three. So for generics, we have yellow Ravenous Rebel, red Destructive Deliberation, and blue Feisty Locals. For the ninja cards, we have a red Head Jab or yellow Back Heel Kick as a 3 block, recoil yellow as a 3 block.
Yeah, so even though we mentioned needing more blues, I think I'm not wanting to pack one, pick one. Those blue feisty locals. There's a decent chance that it wheels, and some of the other ones did as well. Perhaps a little underdrafted at the table. I think here my tendency would be to take the head jab for the go again, but I see you mousing over Destructive Deliberation, and you talked about how much you like that card. So maybe even though we just talked about it, I'm still undervaluing it.
Yeah. I'm picking up red Destructive Deliberation here. As I keep on saying, you just if you as you said that this deck is a little bit less like doesn't have that much blocking ability with the actual block value, but if you just make your opponent block 2 cards with Destructive Deliberation, you've done your job. Like your opponent can't come at you with 4 cards, so or if they take like 2 damage and get a Bonder token, it's pretty sick. So I just think Destructive Deliberation is very good in Benji, and if you ever get to attack with a Twin Twisters before this, like you go for Twin Twisters for 2 on hit, next attack gets +1. Destructive Deliberation comes in for 7.
I hadn't considered that. That's really sweet.
How do you block a 7 in this format? You can't. Like it's like give me your whole hand, and I just draw 4, and like I'm happy with that too.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Okay, let's just move on to pick 2 of pack 3. So for pick 2, generics, we see yellow Come to Fight, blue Peace of Mind, red Infectious Host, blue Infectious Host. For ninja cards, we have blue Surging Strike, yellow Be Like Water.
I like the red Infectious Host quite a bit. Even the blue Infectious Host is fine, actually, but I think you might be able to wheel that. I could see taking care of the blue now with the blue Infectious Host for sure, but the red one to me is pretty good. I just like the dealing with your opponent's ailments, and I think that we have enough playables that even if Infectious Host ends up being a sideboard card, I'm pretty happy with that.
I end up picking up Come to Fight. I think I'm just worried about the number of go again that I have on my generics at this point. And
Mhm.
Come to Fight just blocks for 3. And I think I just ended up picking up 3 block. But I think Red Infectious Host is a fair pick. It's just a powerful card. And if your opponent ever gives you ailment, it's just like, here you go, you can have it back. And that's just super powerful as a ninja player. So yeah, it looks like I do end up picking up the Come to Fight yellow as a 3 block, pack 3, pick 3. Generic, we have Come to Fight in red or yellow. We have a Seek Horizon red. And for the ninja cards, we have red Spinning Wheel Kick or blue Twin Twisters, blue Bonds of Ancestry as well.
And also notably Threadbare Tunic in the pack also. I think Threadbare Tunic is a reasonably high pick early on because it can go in any deck, but I do think its best home is probably Ranger. It's a little bit less good in Ninja. Often it just translates into one Kodachi, which is still pretty good, but not fantastic. And in this case, I think I'd be leaning towards that red spinning wheel kick. We have so much stuff that combos with it. I think it's 4 Twin Twisters at this point, as well as a Cyclone Roundhouse, and red spinning wheel kick is just premium. So I'd be pretty happy to pick that up here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I pick up Spinning Wheel Kick here as well. Threadbare Tunic, just not a consideration at this point because I just have the one Seeker's equipment for the red Piece of Mind, so I can't really cut that chess piece until
Mhm.
I find a different Seeker anyway. Spinning Wheel Kick's gonna be my pick here.
Absolutely.
Moving on to pick 4, generics. Yet again, there's a Come to Fight and a red Brush Off. And the ninja card is basically missing here. And there's only a red Deadly Duo, which I am not happy to play. So, oh, and actually, there's an equipment, the Seeker's Leggings. Now that I look at it, this is a pretty easy pick. I'm hoping that Past J made this pick.
Yeah, I think we were talking about how we were hoping to get equipment, and yeah, pick up Seeker's Legs here is fine. If that wasn't in the pack, I'd probably be taking the yellow Come to Fight just as a block 3, but but I like the Seeker's Legs here quite a bit.
Yeah, and it looks like I do pick it. Good job, Jay. Pick five. Let's see. Generics, you have red come to fight, red scout the preferees, yellow feisty locals. Nothing too interesting there. And for the ninja cards, there's just twin twisters or a red plunge.
Yeah, there's also a blue infectious host here, which is what I think I would actually end up landing on. We kind of talked about giving the tokens being really strong, and having that utility in your blue makes infectious host a pretty premium card for me. Additionally, we're on pick 5 of pack 3, and we still are on our 6 blues. Jay mentioned we kind of want 2 more blues, so I kind of like locking that up here. Twin Twisters Yellow was like the other pick, and maybe the more powerful card, but I feel like taking Infectious Host here is like, it's kind of like doing your homework, you know? Like it's not like, it's not the exciting pick, it's not the card that you want to take, but I think it's just like, for me it's kind of the responsible pick. Like I just want to, like, my deck, if I'm in your shoes, I already feel like my deck is very very good, and I just want to have good blues to make it consistent.
That makes a lot of sense. And now that you tell me this, I think you're right. I think I should have picked Infectious Host, but looks like Past J is picking up Yellow Twin Twisters here. Honestly, I like power and I like doing like good, powerful turns every turn. So I'm not gonna fault myself, but yeah, I think Blue Infectious Host would have been a more powerful pick, or a more responsible pick. Sorry.
And then here you're kind of presented with a similar choice, but it's between blue scout the periphery and red twin twisters. And I think that here I don't think I could bring myself to pick the scout over the twin twisters, even though you still only have the 6 blues. I think that the red twin twisters is just a little bit too good. But again, it's like it's that trade off of finding those spots to like, yeah, there's a better card than that blue, but I gotta, you know, I gotta do it. I gotta pick that blue somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't do my homework, and now I'm getting punished for it. I understand. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Miss Bender. Or is that what people call you? Miss Yuki
Oh
Lee Bender?
no!
I forgot to do my homework and I'm getting punished now. I
I should
think
have called it. I should have called it eating your veggies.
I think I still end up picking up this red twin twisters because
I
I,
think
I
it's
can't
right.
I can't pass it. This card's too good.
Yeah, I think it's right. I wouldn't be able to pass it either. I'd just be hoping to wheel.
Pick seven is nothing interesting. I don't even know what I picked. I don't think any cards here actually makes my deck.
Yeah, it's like yellow brush off or yellow cut down to size, but you have so many finishers that cut down to size isn't great. Would you ever play yellow brush off if you had a Benjamin?
Maybe I should have picked the brush off as like a sideboard card for something against maybe like Azalea or for someone. Yeah, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
You're hoping to never play those cards anyways. Pick eight. There's an interesting pack here. There's a blue come to fight and a red wreck havoc, which this card is coming too late, right?
yeah, I think that is a little bit late for that card for sure. I think it's definitely between those two cards. I think I would personally, well, let's see. I think I might lean towards the come to fight. The Wreck Havoc is the better card, but you just have so many of these 2 block finishers, and at a certain point, like, you don't want to be drawing too many of them. They can get awkward in multiples. I think having like too many of these red 2 costs with all your destructive deliberations, if you get like a hand that's like Wreck Havoc, red destructive deliberation, I don't love it. So I might pick the come to fight, but Wreck Havoc's also just very powerful. So
I think I end up picking wreck havoc. Now that we talk about this, I should have ate my vegetables again and picked come to fight. And made sure I have like just more 3 blocks in my deck, and like honestly even like just a non-zero blue is coming like looking to be pretty good in my deck just because I can still go yellow twin twisters into a 2 cost finisher, which is just like buff for 2 more with Benji is like just powerful.
yeah, or even red twin twisters into a 2 cost finisher is fine. That's a 3 card 10.
Yeah, 3 card 10 6, yeah, or 3 card 9 with on hit draw a card.
Sure.
Oh, and the red twin twister can't has to be blocked out as well, or destructive deliberation comes in for 6.
Oh, true, true. So we're at the wheel, pick 9. Jay once again gets rewarded with the feisty locals. I kind of mentioned that this is reasonably likely to happen. the past three wheeled in pack two, so it's and ninja seems pretty open, so this wheeling doesn't blow my mind. Get up to our seventh blue, feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, better lucky than good. Pick 10. There's nothing too notable. There's a yellow Seek Horizon as a zero cost pitch card. There's a blue Plunge that's just not good, and a blue Peace of Mind and a blue Surging Strike. So Ninja's definitely open, and
Yeah,
there's just a bunch of bad Ninja cards in this pack.
yeah. I don't think any of these cards are making our deck, so it doesn't really matter. You pick Seek Horizon, that's probably the best of the bunch.
Pick 11, we see blue Peace of Mind, blue Twin Twisters, blue Bleed Out, and there's like a blue Virulent Touch that's not for our deck.
Yeah, I don't think these cards especially matter either.
Yeah, and
Our
I don't
deck's a
think
little too good for any of these.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that comes together, but let's pick 12, we got a Deadly Duo. Pick 13, we got a Yellow Feisty, and pick 14, we get a Blue Deadly Duo. I don't think any of these cards make my deck, so it's pretty irrelevant.
Yeah. So overall, pretty solid ninja deck. You have like a whole bunch of twin twisters, some good like finishers that don't have go again, a decent number of three blocks. Yeah, really high in power level, and it's just a matter of the. I think the one strike against this deck is the blues. The seven blues is solid. I still think it's good. Like I would never be unhappy to draft this deck. But yeah, I think if you had like one, maybe two more blues in there, it would be ideal.
Yeah, I just as you said, I think the blue infectious host pick is probably the thing that's missing in this draft, and that's like probably my biggest mistake of this draft.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because I think that, Jay and I kind of went back to talking about like our early picks. They were a little bit different. I might have tried out the Wither, cut Assassin a bit, see what happens. I might have even started with the Come to Fight, but I think that even if I get the Come to Fight and the Wither there, as soon as I see that pick, was it pick 4 or 5 Mask of Many Faces?
I think it was pick 4, Mask of Many Faces.
Yeah. As soon as I see that, it's like just such a big signal. And then you get that. It's like in the pack with a twin twisters too. So even if it's possible that there's like a ninja, we saw an equipment missing, like maybe they've picked Mask of Many Faces and then there's just another one, like the twin twisters also being in that pack really makes that signal just so solid that you can kind of count on it. I don't think there's that many signals in outsiders drafts that are this strong, but when you do see them, if you can identify them, I think you can really get rewarded, and that looks like that looks like what happens here for you.
Yeah, and the card I ended up picking earlier that like instead of the Wither was a blue Bonds of Ancestry, and like that card is just not even that good. So I should have probably picked Wither. Like I'm thinking about this draft like right now as well, and yeah, I think I would have been happier with my choices if I have picked that red Wither to keep myself even more open than I was.
Yeah, it just gives you some options, but you know, draft's hard, and I think there's a lot of ways that you can navigate the start of a draft, and sometimes there's different routes that lead you to different places and different decks, and those are interesting to look at. And then sometimes even if you take different routes, you still wind up on the same deck. And so I guess all that to say is just like we're all going to draft a little bit differently, and Jay and I didn't agree on all of our picks. You might not agree with all of our picks, and that's okay. But I think the biggest thing is thinking through them and having reasoning about why you're picking the cards that you're picking, and just being open to other people's ideas about it, because I think draft is hard enough that you're probably not going to have everything optimal. There's probably going to be some ideas that someone else has that you didn't think of that is maybe a little bit better, and you want to incorporate those into your game when it comes up.
And what I have to say to you, Yuki, Destructive Deliberation real good with Yellow Twin Twister as Benji. Like it's insane.
Yeah, I got to try drafting this deck. I haven't drafted Benji in a long time, and yeah, I hadn't really considered that. I always forget that Twin Twisters can buff like even generics. So yeah, that sounds really sweet. Yellow Twin Twisters into Destructive Deliberation for 7, just like a 3 card 9, but you have the draw a card with a breakpoint of 7. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, draw a card with a breakpoint of 7. If you consider draw a card in this format to be like worth 2 points, it's like a 3 card 11.
Yeah. Or it takes like two cards in equipment or more likely three cards. So I think regardless of the outcome, you are pretty happy. There's not that many. There's not like there's no guardian in this format that can just block with three cards and come at you for four. So usually, if you can strip three cards, you do a pretty good job of making your opponent's turn not very good.
Yeah, like the worst that can happen is they block with three cards, they attack you with Infectious Host for four, or Seek Horizon for four, or similar.
All right, that was really good to look at one of your drafts. Hopefully, this helps all of you get ready for your upcoming road to nationals. I know some of them may be limited, and if you are playing in a road to nationals this weekend or on the following weekend, depending on when you're listening to this, good luck. I hope that those go well. Um, Anything else you want to talk about, Jay, before we wrap up this week's episode?
No, I think this is a quite long episode. I think this is pretty good. This is probably like a good example of how to get into Benji and just the power of Twin Twister Yellow, and that's the biggest reason to go into Benji. So just keep that in mind. Lots of Yellow Twin Twister equals you're a Benji deck.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. That card is the best Benji card,
Oh yeah,
probably.
yeah. By far, I think best Benji card. Like even if you look at the rares and all the
I guess
mythics,
out,
yeah,
I guess outside of like the generically really good stuff, like the Mask of Many Faces, like the red Twin Twisters is obviously great, but like if you're looking for a reason to be Benji, it's like the best Benji specific card, right?
yeah. It's like Yellow Twin Twister is not good in Katsu, but insane in Benji.
Yeah, it's like filler and Katsu. Like the 1 for 3 is like it's fine, but you really don't want to be playing it if you can.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, that's going to wrap us up for this week. Thanks for listening. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach out to us on Twitter. Jay is at UedaJ, and I'm at Yukili Bender, or you can email us directly at onthebauble@gmail.com. If you have any questions or feedback, let us know down below, and we'd love to hear about your upcoming RTNs, either how they went for you if you've already played some, or what CC deck are you planning to bring if you have a CC RTN around the corner. Let us know down in the comments below, and we'll see you all next week.